Hello and welcome. This intro serves several purposes, and the first, very likely necessary one is that many of you will not know who I am, did never meet me, so you should have a rough idea about who I am and what is my connection to the transit field and to the transit forecast. I'm in human design since a very long time, you can see that. I'm an emotional generator 3-5 with a lot of energy. You can see that. And I'm not only an analyst in the teacher since a long time, but from the very beginning of my career and work in human design, I have been fascinated by the observation of the transit field from several point of views. And this is what I can and will share with you if you allow me to do that. Now, of course, we can say the transit field, what is so important about the transit field? Why should we care at all? Don't we have strategy and authority? Isn't it enough to make the correct decisions out of our strategy and authority? And yes, this is not meant to replace in any way strategy and authority, and hopefully your PHS process as well. But as you will see in a moment, looking at the transit field is very supportive for your deconditioning process and also for your learning. I just took an example in order to illustrate what I mean. That is the actual transit field some minutes before I started to speak that intro. And we are not looking at the details right now, but we have to realize that the transit field is always there. It is the one conditioning you can practically not be aware of, you cannot see it, and you cannot avoid it. I mean, think about it. We normally say correctly, the most important conditioning are people in our lives. That's true. But if you have somebody close to you, if somebody is together in the same space with you, you are aware of that. It is a conditioning, but it is a conditioning you can directly observe. And if you are in human design, you understand that there is a mutual conditioning going on. But the transit field, you cannot see the transit field. You do not, well, you can learn to feel it, but it takes a long time and will never be complete. And most importantly, you cannot avoid it. You cannot avoid it. You can go in the deepest cave in the Himalayas and it still will get you. So you should be aware of what is conditioning you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And by becoming aware, oh, we get the goodies. And the first goodie is, and Ra has said that already very early in teaching human design, the transit is the best and, by the way, cheapest teacher you can have. I'm where I do work with human design. I would almost say I have a certain reputation for knowing extremely much about the gates, about each possible activation in the gates. And where does it come from? Where does it come from? Well, yes, of course, from teaching and theory, from observation of myself and others, but the greatest source of my knowledge was the real life observation of the impact of the transit field in the general public, in the collective, and of course also in human beings, myself and human beings around me. So the transit field teaches you the many facets an abstract activation can take on, how it can look in different contexts and frames. Secondly, of course, there is also the possibility to be prepared for certain things. If we have the channel of transitoriness like we have now, you know there will be crises. There will be crises in the world, there will be crises in your life, things will go wrong, changes will occur, You will not be in control of that, of course not. Everybody on the damned planet is emotionally defined and emotionally manifesting today. That makes a difference. And if you know, you are prepared. Awareness makes a difference. And seeing the transit field makes it much, much easier to be aware. So it is a valuable tool for practical purposes. And guys, we have entered the last 7-year cycle of the old world that is falling apart. And that means looking back will not help you in the future. Nothing will help you in the future except strategy and authority and looking at the one thing that is sure. It is obviously that you and I, we don't know what will be tomorrow. No, we can't. But we can see the planetary forces working and we can be prepared, even if we do not know how they will look in the realization on the surface. So it is my deepest conviction that you need to know and that the transit field is a very valuable tool for your process and for your general, let's say, survival and well-being. Now, this is just a teaser. I mean, everybody who wants to sell something will say, hey guys, I'm really good, I'm a specialist, and quack, 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 quack. Now I show you something you did not see before. I'm very, very sure about it. I show you the great secret order, how the program works, and how that so-called reality is created later on our plane. Within our frame, within our species, within our world, there is the ruler of the cycle, and that is Pluto. And Pluto is, you have to understand that, Pluto is not part of a polarity. Pluto is a singularity. It is the Lord of the cycle, the ruler of the cycle. It brings you the absolute you cannot avoid. It burns to ashes, and then maybe there is a resurrection. So therefore, where Pluto is in the transit field, that shows you what is that absolute that must take place. And you have to handle it. And there is no way out. There is only the confrontation. So you cannot run from Pluto. Please understand that. But Pluto is far away. We cannot see it. Remember, for a very, very long time, the first three ones, the Pluto, the Neptune, the Uranus, you couldn't see. They didn't exist in the collective consciousness. So, but nevertheless, of course, they have their impact. And Pluto is the first one. And then the polarity starts. And in the polarity, in the eternal game of change, we have the Neptune that is dissolving the old. And we have the Uranus that brings the new. Now understand what that means for your understanding if you just know that. Not just looking at Pluto, well, Pluto is in gate 60, you have a limitation. Yes, we have a limitation. But it is a limitation nobody on that planet will be able to avoid. And this limitation, that pressure of the limitation leads to what? To the dissolution of something, Neptune, and to the appearance of something new, Uranus. And this is still in the invisible. That is just the power of forces. And then we are like downsizing the frequency. We are approaching, or we are moving in the direction of the material plane. And then we meet another polarity, a polarity we are very, very well, not aware, but it's not something we wouldn't know. There is the polarity of Saturn bringing the limitation, the restraint, the borders. And we have the Jupiter that is the counterpart to that, the growth and expansion. And this polarity, I have that balanced growth here, because of course it's never really balanced. There is always some kind of imbalance. Jupiter in a stronger position, Saturn in a stronger position. Sometimes there is more restraint, sometimes there is more growth. So Here we already can feel that things get a little bit more material, more earthly. But this is the dance, that eternal dance that has to find a balance in the moment. And this balance in the moment will be what we can truly watch in the world, the outcome of what we have seen above there. So I hope I could demonstrate you that there is valuable knowledge that will be put into practice and will give you an understanding of what's going on that is beyond what you knew till now. So finally, what will you get? What is the deal? What am I offering you? The forecast will cover a period of 3 months. So that is a quarter of the mundane year. Why do I take the mundane year? Because this is about the mundane world, you know? And there, let's say the calendar of the mundane year is important for all of us. And it is, well, it is easy to follow. So there is a restriction. We will look at the movements of the slow-moving planets from Jupiter till Pluto, and also taking into consideration the nodes of the moon. And because these are the transits, they really program us all. They program us all. That is what will be seen in the collective. The fast-moving planets, of course, also are of interest, but this is of interest if you want to see, if you want to look at a specific week, at a specific date. But for the general picture, it would be rather confusing than supporting the creation of the general picture. And we will have a look from two very different perspectives. One is more for the collective people, understanding circuit, sensing circuit. That is from the collective perspective. What does it mean in politics, in economy, in society? And the other one is an individualized one. What does it mean for you personally? That will, of course, depend from the particularities of your body graph. And I will not look in all of your body graphs. But we can look at the possible situations. A channel closing, for example, or a transit at a center you have defined, or a transit at a center you have open. And in that way, you will get individualized information that is supposed to help you in handling the quality and in observing as precise as possible. And finally, we also will look at the special dynamics of some days. There is an order of changes in a period of time. And if we look closely in that order of changes, and then also take during some days, the positions of fast-moving planets into consideration, we will see a living picture, like a movie. It gets alive, it is moving, there's a dynamic in it. It is not regularly. There are periods where planets do not change gates. For weeks, it could be that they do not, like the slow one, that they do not change gates. And then, all of a sudden, within 3, 4, 5 days, the whole situation is changing. And in that, you get in touch with, I would call it the aliveness of the program. And you will start to see how it works. Well, and the practical value for you, my dears, is I'm a very practical person. You have seen in the beginning, I'm a 3-5. I'm not interested in academic discussions. Yeah, fuck academic discussions. I'm interested in tools to work. And you can avoid unnecessary mistakes. I give you one taste of that. Gate 60. Gate 60 has already ruled the last year, and it's going to rule for many, many more years. And Gate 60 is the pressure of limitation, we know that. And it brings the old to the surface. The old limitations are coming to the surface, and that is not only true for the world, that is also true for you personally. So, but you see, how does it come to the surface? I give an example. All of a sudden, you have a back pain. I mean, a real back pain. You cannot move. It hurts you very much. It is difficult to see. What do you want then? Very naturally, what do you want? You want to get rid of it. You want to liberate yourself from the pain. So there are many things you could do in order to achieve that. And this would be the mistake. I'm not saying you should suffer, but you have to understand that the symptom on the surface, in that case a symptom, a physical symptom, is a body language that gives you some key where the true problem may be found. Because you could have too much on your back. And that is the reason that you have that symptom. This is the old limitation becoming visible, surfacing. And if you now in that situation not only do something in order to get rid of the pain, but you go inside, you look what is the too much you have on your back or on your shoulders or wherever it is. Under such a transit, you have the one in a lifetime chance to get rid of it, not of the symptom, of the true cause. And if you don't know that, how likely is it that you will do that? Normally, you would be very, very happy if you just could get rid of the pain. So, in that sense, there are the waves, they will come during the next years, they will be very high. And they will smash many, many, many people. But there are also the surfers. The surfers, they like to ride waves. They are 30 or 40 meters high. They would kill anybody else. But if you have learned to surf them, it is a joy. And I guarantee you, digging into the transit knowledge, starting to observe, you will become surfers of destiny. And this is what you and I need to become in order to have some fun during the next years. So I truly hope, well, I will not see you, but you will see a little bit of me. And I hope very much that I will be able to inspire you and to support your personal process.